In this video I will be ranking all the Fire Emblem characters based on their designs. The rankings will only be based on the designs and nothing else. Also, I will be judging the designs by the Awakening art, but I will have Fire Emblem hero sprites on screen as well because not all of the Awakening art gives a front view and most of the hero sprites are similar enough. The only time I won't include the hero sprites is if it's a very different design such as Anna. Speaking of Anna, let's start off with her. I think Anna's design is okay. There are some things I like and some things I dislike. I think the hairstyle looks good and the cape looks cool. However, I don't really like the shoes and leg armor, as well as the red and yellow color scheme. The shirt and pants look okay, but I feel like they are held back by the color. Also, the belt looks nice. I feel conflicted on where to put her design because there are a lot of things I like and dislike about it, but for right now I will put her in C tier and I think she'll probably stay in high C tier. Up next we have Aversa. I mostly like Aversa's design, but there are a few things I don't like about it. Let's start off with the things I like. I think the leggings with the pattern on them look cool, and the clothes overall look nice. The darker color scheme looks good as well. I really like the Plagian clothes, so I'm probably gonna end up putting people from Plagia higher up on the list. Now on to the things I dislike about this design. I don't really like the feathers around her neck or the crown. I also don't really like the face markings. That's about all I don't like about this design though, and I don't even really dislike them that much. I think I'll put Aversa in B tier. Now on to Basilio. I think Basilio has a really good design. The armor and eye patch looks cool and the fur around his neck looks good as well. I really like the color scheme with the black and gold, and the clothes themselves look nice overall. I really like Basilio's design, so I'm gonna put him in A tier. Up next we have Brady. I feel like Brady has a good but simple design. I like the hairstyle and the more rugged look of the character. The clothes are pretty basic, it's just an average looking robe, but I do like the black and purple colors. My favorite thing about this design is how the outfit contrasts with how the character looks. I like his design, but I feel like a lot of other characters have way better designs, so I'm gonna put him in C tier. Next up we have Cherche. I really like Cherche's design. It feels tough but elegant. The armor looks really cool and I like all the details that went into it, like the shape of her shin armor or the armor around her shoulders and waist. The torso armor also looks nice. I think what makes this design feel elegant are the wings and the headband, and I like how the tough look of the armor contrasts with the elegant feel of the head accessories. I think she has a very good design, so I'm gonna put her in A tier. Now on to Chrom. I think Chrom has a really cool design. I really like the armor on the one shoulder. I've always thought that having armor on one side looks cool, but I don't know how practical that would be in battle. Although the side he doesn't have armor on is the same side he holds his sword, so I guess that makes sense because he'd have to move that arm more. The cape looks cool and I feel like his design would be incomplete without it. I also like the leg cufflet thing on his right leg. Overall a very good design, so I will put him in A tier below Cherche. Next up we have Cordelia. I like Cordelia's design. The overall design is aesthetically pleasing and I think all of the armor on the upper torso looks cool. I really like the pattern on her clothes as well as the overall look of the clothes. The shirt that kind of goes into a skirt with the thigh-high boots looks nice. I also like the belts around the waist. The long red hair looks pleasant and I like the hair accessory that looks like wings. The only thing I kind of don't like is the color of the clothes. I don't really like the faded pink and red colors, but I don't dislike them that much. I think it's a very good design, so I'm gonna put her in A tier below Cherche. Up next we have Cynthia. I think Cynthia's design looks good but is kind of bland. Her outfit mostly consists of what all Pegasus Knights wear, with the armor on the upper torso, the two belts, and the thigh-high boots. Her shirt looks pretty average and the colors in her design don't stand out that much. I think the pigtails look nice and I like the white scarf thing. Overall I like her design, but it is a lot blander than a lot of other designs in this game, so I'm gonna put her in C tier below Anna. Now moving on to Donnel. Donnel has a very simple design, which makes sense because he is a farmer. Everything about his design looks pretty typical, from the clothes to his hairstyle. One thing I don't like about his design is the pot on his head. I don't think his design looks bad, however compared to all of the other designs I feel like his ranks pretty low, so I'm gonna put him in D tier. Up next we have Imran. Everything about Imran's design looks very graceful. The robe looks nice and the colors of it represent the character well. The white gives a sense of purity and I think the green is fitting since she is a healer. The gold makes it feel more elegant and is fitting for royalty, which makes it a nice touch for the Exalt. I think her hairstyle looks okay and the hair accessory looks nice. I think it's a very fitting design for the character and a good design overall, so I'm gonna put her in B tier below Aversa. Now on to Flavia. I think Flavia has a really tough looking design. The armor looks strong and functional. I like how there is armor on most of the body and none on the parts where it's important for movement, such as the shoulders and legs. I feel like it's very fitting with Flavia's class being hero because it is a well-rounded class that has a good amount of speed, strength, and defense. I also think all the individual pieces of armor look cool, such as the thigh-high armored boots, chest plate, and the armor on the arms. The white and red color scheme of the armor looks nice as well, and I like how her hair is tied up like she's ready to fight. Overall, it's a solid design, so I will put her in B tier above Emmeryn. Next up we have Frederick. Frederick has a very stoic design. I really like the large amount of armor as well as the stern expression. It feels very fitting of his personality, with him being a loyal and dedicated knight. The blue and silver colors on the armor look nice, and the different details of the armor look cool, such as the design on the shoulder armor and the shape of the armor on the legs. It's a simple design, but I think it's executed well, so I will put him in B tier below Emmeryn. Up next we have Gaius. I think Gaius has a pretty cool design. I've always liked the attire for the thief and assassin classes, so I automatically like this design more because of that. I really like the black cloak and the black gloves as well as the headband. The overall darker color scheme looks nice too. The only thing I don't like is the hair, but I don't really dislike it either. I like his design, but I do think there are better designs, so I'm gonna put him in B tier above Emmeryn. Now moving on to Gangrel. I really like Gangrel's design. I think it's very fitting for his character and the fact that he's a villain. The darker colors used for the face and the hair make him look menacing, and the mischievous expression gets his demeanor across. The crown looks cool and I think it's very fitting for the Mad King. I think the color scheme looks okay. I like the black, but I'm not really a huge fan of the yellow. I don't really like how the Trickster class looks in Awakening, so I'm not the biggest fan of his attire, but I still don't think it looks bad and I think it fits him very well. Overall, I think it's a very good design, especially for a villain, so I'm gonna put him in A tier above Crom. Next up we have Jerome. I think Jerome has a pretty good design. The mask looks cool and I like the outfit overall. The large amount of armor he wears makes him look a lot tougher, and the slender look of the armor looks nice. The individual pieces of armor look really cool too, such as the chest plate, shoulder armor, leg armor, and arm armor. The clothes look nice and add to the mysterious look going on. The darker color scheme looks good as well. I really like this design, so I'm gonna put him in A tier above Crom. Up next we have Gregor. Gregor has a pretty cool design. I really like how the mercenary class looks in Awakening, so I'm probably gonna put people in the mercenary class higher. There are a lot of things I like about this design, and some things that just feel kind of mediocre to me. The gloves, armor, and buckles look nice, but the color scheme is bland. The clothes he wears are also pretty simple. His facial features make him look more tough and rugged, which I think is cool. I feel like this design is very fitting for Gregor because he is an older mercenary, so the bland colors and simple clothes would make sense since he's traveling around looking for work. Overall, I think it's a good design. There's stuff I like about the design, and the things I think are mediocre about the design fit the character, so I'm gonna put Gregor in B tier above Gaius. Alright, now on to Henry. Henry's design is pretty typical for a dark mage. I do like his design, but I don't think it's very unique. His robes look cool, and I really like the color scheme of black and purple as the main color with gold highlights. The cloth around his waist also looks nice. Even though I like his outfit, it just feels pretty standard for a dark mage. His facial features don't stand out too much either, he's just kind of plain looking. I'm gonna put Henry in C tier because I do like his design, but I don't think it stands out too much, and I think I will put him below Anna. Up next we have Inigo. I think Inigo has a pretty good design. The clothes and armor look nice and the character himself looks unique. A lot of his design is based off of his class, so I won't go over it too much since I explained a lot of aspects I liked about the mercenary class with Gregor. I will say I like Inigo's design a little bit more, mainly because of the color scheme. Overall a solid design, so I will put him in B tier above Gregor. Next up we have Kjelle, and I have no idea if I'm saying that right and don't know how to say it, so that's how I'm gonna say it from now on. I don't really like Kjelle's design. I don't like how the Knight class looks in Awakening. The armor just looks bad to me, mainly because of the neck part, but it also just looks overall, so I don't really like her armor for those reasons. I also don't really like her hairstyle. One thing that looks okay to me is the color scheme, but it's a pretty simple one. I'm going to put her in D tier below Donnel because I don't really like her design. Up next we have Libra. Libra's design is pretty basic, but I do think it fits his character and his class well. The white color is very fitting for Libra because he is a virtuous person and the gold makes him look more elegant. I think the clothes themselves look okay and I like the gold gauntlets. I think Libra's design looks okay, but compared to the other designs, I'm gonna have to put him in C tier below Cynthia. Now moving on to Lisa. I think Lisa's design is pretty good and fitting for her role as a healer. Her overall outfit looks nice and I like the maid-like look of the design. I feel like the maid-like design fits well with her being a healer because she takes care of people. The wireframe skirt looks cool as well as the leather corset. Her dress and hair accessories give her a more elegant look and I think her hairstyle looks nice. The white, yellow, and brown color scheme looks good too. I'm gonna put Lisa in the top of B tier because I like her design and I feel like there's a lot of different elements to her design that make her feel more unique. Next up we have Lon'qu. Lon'qu has a pretty cool design. I like the shoulder pads and the collar. The fur on the sleeves, boots, and wrist armor look nice and I think the wrist armor and boots themselves have cool designs. I like the long coat and the red sash around his waist. I think his design has a nice color scheme as well. I also like the more serious look of the character and I think he actually looks unique. I really like Lon'qu's design so I'm gonna put him in S tier. Up next we have Lucina. Lucina has one of my favorite designs in Awakening. The clothes look really cool and the hairstyle looks good. I like the cuffs around the wrist and on the boots as well as the buckles around the torso. The shirt and boots look nice and I also think the cape and shoulder armor looks cool. I like the color scheme too. Blue is my favorite color, so any design that has blue as a main color I will probably like more. Lucina has one of my favorite designs, so I'm gonna put her in S tier above Lon'qu. Now moving on to Maribel. Maribel's design doesn't stand out that much to me. I think her clothes look okay and I don't like her hairstyle. I also don't really like the color scheme of white and pink and I'm not really a fan of those colors. I'm gonna put her in C tier above Cynthia because I do think she looks more unique than the ones below her in C tier. Next up we have Muriel. Muriel's design just looks like that of a stereotypical mage. Her clothes don't stand out much and just look like an average mage's robes. The colors on her design are also pretty bland, which doesn't help with the average looking robes. I also don't really like her hairstyle or the pants. One thing I do like about this design is the hat, but that is still a pretty standard hat for a mage. I'm gonna put Muriel in D tier below Donnel because there's not a lot I like about her design. Up next we have Laurent. Honestly, there is not that much of a difference between Muriel and Laurent, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on this one. I will say I like the clothes better than Muriel's, mainly because of this part at the bottom. Other than that, I pretty much feel the same about him as I do Muriel. I'm gonna put him in D tier above Muriel because I do like him slightly more. Up next we have Morgan. I think Morgan's design is pretty average looking. I like the robes, but that's about the only thing I like. Everything else is just kind of bland. I don't like the hairstyle on the pants and the boots look okay. The designs on the robe look cool, like the purple eyes and pattern on the cuffs. Other than that, I don't really like or dislike the design. I pretty much feel the same about male and female Morgan, so I'm gonna put them both in C tier above Cynthia. Now moving on to Na. I don't really like Na's design. I don't like the hairstyle or hair color. The clothes look bad to me and I don't like the color of the clothes either. The red, white, and pink colors don't go together well and it does not match her hair at all. I'm going to put her in F tier because I don't like her design at all. Next we have Nora. I like most things about Nora's design. The clothes look good and I think her hairstyle looks okay. I pretty much like all of the clothes. The main parts that stand out to me are the gloves, boots, pants, and shirt. I like how the boots are connected with straps to the belt. Also, it was more common for archers in historical times to wear a belt to carry their arrows than to use a quiver so they could see their arrows. That makes me like this design more because I love little details like that. Aside from that, I also like the design of the shirt with the green checkered pattern, and I also like how the pants themselves look. Her facial features are kind of bland, but everything else looks good, so I'm gonna put her in B tier above Inigo. Next we have Noe. F tier for FBI, open up! Moving on, up next we have Olivia. I think Olivia has a really graceful design that is fitting for a dancer. The clothes look really nice and I like her hairstyle. The gold accessories complement the white dress well. I also really like the design of the accessories, like the rings with spikes and the bracelets around the shoulders. The white thigh highs and headband also look good. I really like the hairstyle with the ponytail and braided hair in the front too. I really like her design, so I'm gonna put her in the top of S tier. Next up we have Owain. Owain's design is similar to Lon'qu, but I don't like it as much. I think it's because of the color scheme. I won't go over his clothes too much because it's basically the same as Lon'qu. I like the design of the clothes but not the colors. As for his facial features, I think they're pretty bland and I'm not a huge fan of the hair. I'm gonna put him in B tier below Inigo because I still do like his design. Next up we have Pan. F tier for furry. I actually think this design looks okay. There are some things I like and some things I don't like. I like the clothes and the patterns on them as well as the color scheme, but I'm not a huge fan of the ears and the fur. I'm actually going to put Pan in C tier above Morgan because there are some things I like and some things I don't like. Now moving on to Priam. I think Priam has a cool design. I like the overall more rugged look of the character. The armor and clothes look good, and I like the actual look of the character himself. All of his armor looks good to me, whether it be the armor around his legs, chest, or shoulders, and I also really like the headband and the torn cape. The character himself looks unique too, with the messy blue hair and unkempt look. I like the color scheme as well. I think Priam has one of the best designs for a male character, so I'm gonna put him in S tier above Lon'qu. Next up we have Rickon. Rickon's design is another one that I think is typical for a mage, but I do like his design better than Miriel's. I think his robe looks better at the bottom compared to Miriel. I also like his color scheme more, it makes him look a little bit more unique. I also think the gloves and the buckles around his waist look cool. I'm gonna put Rickon in C tier above Libra. I'm not gonna go over Robin since you can customize that character. So moving on, up next we have Ciri. I really like Ciri's design. I like the long flowing black hair and the clothes look nice. The sandals look cool and I really like the more traditional style of clothing. I like the older looking fabric around the waist and the design of the clothes on her torso as well. I also really like the color scheme with the different shades of purple and white. I'm going to put Ciri in A tier above Gangrel because I do think it's a really good design. Now moving on to Severa. I think Severa has a really cool design. I like her clothes and hairstyle as well as her armor. I think the shirt looks cool with how it's laced on the sides, and I also think the turtleneck part looks good even though I don't usually like turtlenecks. The buttons look nice as well, and the shoulder armor and leg armor look really cool. One thing I think could have been better is the color scheme, but I still like the colors, just not a lot. Overall a very solid design, so I will put her in A tier below Ciri. Next up we have Stahl. I think Stahl has a very bland design which ironically fits his character pretty well. His face and hair are average looking and his armor doesn't stand out that much either. I also don't like how the armor looks around the neck and the green color also looks bad to me. I'm going to put Stahl in D tier below Miriel. Up next we have Sully. I'm not a huge fan of this design either, but I still like it more than Stahl's. I don't really like her hairstyle, but it does look unique and I think her armor looks a little better than Stahl's because of the slimmer look and red color, but I still don't like the part around the neck. I'm gonna put Sully in C tier above Morgan. Now moving on to Sumia. There are some things I like about this design and some things that I think look bland. I like her clothes, but I think her facial features look kind of plain. Pretty much most of what I said about Cordelia's clothes apply here, so I won't go over them too much, but I will say I like her color scheme less than Cordelia's. Her facial features don't stand out that much and her hair is pretty average looking. Overall, I still think it's a good design, so I'm gonna put her in B tier above Emerin. Next up we have Tharja. I think Tharja has a really good design. I like her overall gothic style. The clothes look good and I really like the black and gold color scheme. The rings around the legs and arms look cool and the design of the sandals also look good. I also like the cloak and the hair accessory and the hairstyle looks nice too. I think Tharja has a really good design, so I'm gonna put her in the top of A tier. Up next we have Tiki. I'm not really a fan of Tiki's design in Awakening. I don't like the clothes or her hair and I don't know why, but her face just kind of feels off to me. The color scheme also looks bad to me. A lot of the things I don't like about this design are the same things I don't like about Na's design, but I do like Tiki's design a little bit more. I'm gonna put Tiki in D tier below Stahl. Now moving on to Vike. I think Vike has a solid design. It's simple but it looks good. I like the armor on his legs and arm. The rings around his legs and arm look nice and the collar around his neck with the chains looks cool. I also like the belt around his waist. His facial features also look pretty unique. I'm gonna put Vike in B tier above Sumia because I do like his design, but I think it's simple. Next up we have Varian. I think Varian has a pretty good design. I like his clothes and his overall noble look. The bottom part of his design is very similar to Noor's because they are both archers, but his shirt is a lot different because it is noble attire. I like the way the shirt looks with the frills and just the design of it overall. I'm gonna put Varian in B tier below Aversa because I do think it's a good design. Up next we have Walhart. Walhart has an absolutely menacing design with his blood red armor and inhuman expression. I like his design, but it feels kind of cliche with him being a villain. It's just very evil looking. I also don't really like the color of the armor that much. I can see why it would be that color, but I think it would look better if there was another color or more black in the design. It just looks too red to me, but I do think the design of the armor itself is really cool and probably my favorite thing about this design. I'm gonna put him in the top of B tier. If it weren't for the color, I would put him in A. Next up we have Yarne. Most of the things I said about Pan can be applied here. The only thing that's kind of different is the color, but I like blue just as much as purple, so I feel about the same about their designs. I'm gonna put Yarne right beside Pan since I feel about the same about him. And finally we have Yanfei. Yanfei has a pretty cool design. I really like the clothes and how the character himself looks. He has more traditional clothes like Sayri, but it still looks unique. I really like the colors in this design, with the dark shades of purple and the gold trim. I also really like his headgear and his hairstyle. Overall a very good design, so I will put him in A tier above Cordelia. Alright, so that's all the characters ranked except for Robin, because they are customizable. There are clearly no other characters here. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I am almost to 100 subscribers. At the time of me recording this video, I have 85, so I'm super close. Also, I have a Patreon if anyone is interested in supporting me there. If not though, it's totally fine. And if you want to watch another video similar to this, you can click on the video on screen now. Also, have a nice day.